Press the triangle button for accessibility options. Chat is enabled to
PM.
join a party. Press the right stick to form a party.
I'm live. I'm live. I'm live.
So when are you gonna get your own place?
Don't listen to him.
PM. P. PM, look at my car. PM, did up my car. Peter, go into my stream then. Peter, open my stream, bruv. Okay.
mention, yeah, oink, oink. Work too hard, bitch. You can't get a point, point two.
100 bands, 100 bands, 100 bands, 10 bands in the right hand, 10 bands in my left hand.
Alright, Peter. Peter. Pete. Peter. Look how fast I'm watch. Just keep looking at the screen. Keep looking on the stream. Wait for a minute. Ready? I'm gonna go towards this guy. Dude, want to see a slide on this game? Well then, really. Look, if I try this, then hopefully people will accept. One person, come on. Pete.
One second, gonna get snapped. That.
Here, hold on. It looks like it's kind of I don't know what else, but wheel. You can get wheel like you can get rims. What you make got hydraulics in them, and it makes you spin by itself. Oh. After the run. No, my comes. We'll go for a couple here. Around here. Around this. So I'm pretty sure we did it here because imagine we do starting right from there. So I'll do it from there to there. Because I'll just go This road. Oh, straight to power. Better.
Hey, park it up. Take a load off.
Mum. EJ. Good game. Pete.
Hello, beautiful. I'm talking to the car.
Nice car.
What do you mean nice car? I don't have a car. Pete, I don't know what you're on about. I don't have a car. Alright then, Peter. What car is it then? Peter. Peter, what? What brand? What brand?
Corvette. Pierre, do you think I can get this car to a 1,000? Okay, alright Pierre, you ready? Wait for it. It's gonna hit it, it's gonna hit it. Oh, please tell me this can hit it. No, Peter, look at its horsepower. I like them rims I had them before. Now that looks nice, doesn't it, Pierre? Pierre, how does that look on this car? Pierre. Pete. Yeah. I'm gonna move the golf like it's head. Oh. Now that looks nice. Peter. Oh, look at that baby. Look at his baby. Oh. 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 Oh my. Doings. Here. Tell me if this you like this is exhaust. Yeah. Peter, did you just see my whole car do a front wheelie? Demi Gordon, is it Demi Gordon? Peter! Pete! If you're new to the stream, hit that like button, and if you're new to the stream, subscribe and turn notifications on, please. And also, can you go to up to typical beast? Shut up, party. Yeah,
Man, the cops are out for blood today, am I right? Taurus must be even more of a hard ass than Mercer.
$94,000. Not for falling. Not for falling.
Play War Thunder now. Join millions of players across the globe in massive battles on tanks, aircraft, and helicopters in the most extensive vehicle combat game ever made. Take control over the battlefield in ground vehicles, rain down rocket volleys and helicopters, dogfight enemies in aircraft, and bomb whatever is left into the dust. Play on more than 1,500 authentic military vehicles from early.
Like the video for a cookie. What is the fishing for? In fishing to the fish today, guys. I am the 1v1 fastest in all the water. This guy is insane. I promise you guys this.
About you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you. Come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again. Damn, who knew? All the planes we flew, the things we've been through. Then I'll be standing right here talking to you about another path. I know we love to hit the road and laugh, but something told me that it wouldn't last. Had to switch up, look at things different, see the bigger picture. Those were the days. I'm killing myself. I am your king now. All of you are wrong. How could we not talk about feeling when family's all that we got? Everything I went through, you were standing there by my side. And now you gon' be with me for the last ride. And I about you, my friend. And I'll tell you all about it when I see you. Come a long way where we began. So I'll tell you all about it when I see you. When I see First you both go out your way and the vibe is feeling strong. And what's small turn to a friendship turn to a bond. And that bond will never be broken, the love will never get lost. And when brotherhood comes.
editors, Marvel films are a pretty big deal, yet the behind-the-scenes filming secrets of the superhero films are often ignored by the masses. Well, no longer. Today, we're going to let you in on some of Disney's Marvel movie mysteries. We're going to showcase some of the secrets and tricks that contribute to the epic MCU films we see on screen. So, lift up Mjolnir and let's get started. We don't know if you know this, but Marvel tends to showcase superpowers in their films. To film this, the actors will often use stunt wires. This way, a character can appear to effortlessly lift another into the air. In reality, the stunt coordinators will be pulling on the wires to hoist the actor above the ground. The other reason for using stunt wires is probably the most obvious: safety. Keeping the actor safe from injury is paramount. They can perform insane stunts and fighting abilities safely within the stunt wire harness. Once the scene is filmed, the wires are removed in post-production. In one behind-the-scenes video on Robert Downey Jr.'s Instagram, we can see a battle involving Chris Evans, Josh Brolin, and Downey. To showcase Thanos' mad lifting ability, Captain America is lifted into the air using wires. Once Cap passes out, Thanos throws him to the side. All of it is measured to show the Mad Titan's power, but also keep Evans nice and safe. As Marvel has a lot of characters from a variety of different species, the magic of CGI is very necessary.
Honestly, at this exact second, I thought we were Build-A-Bear. Maybe I am.
After all, there aren't many massive green giants wandering about looking to get into the film industry. Yet, when on set with these characters, it looks vastly different than what we see on screen. Take Josh Brolin. He's decked out in a motion capture suit so the animators can capture every movement and expression Brolin makes. But as Thanos is much taller than Brolin, they created a unique way for the other actors to know where his head is and where to look. The filmmakers added a photo of the Mad Titan above Brolin's head. While it looks a tad bizarre, it really helps. A lot of the time, motion capture actors will use a tennis ball above them instead of a picture, such as this photo of Mark Ruffalo during Thor Ragnarok. But it doesn't exactly give the other actors much to work with when filming. It's hard to keep both of them inanimate objects. For the 2012 Avengers film, they even created prosthetic limbs of the Hulk to help stage the fight scene between him and Thor. With prosthetics like that, maybe they didn't need to do any CGI. If the MCU is known for anything, it's for the destruction of property during battles. There's always going to be multiple big explosions in a Marvel film. While it's easy to think that these are all CGI generated too, often they aren't. Instead, they use practical effects, meaning they actually blow stuff up and record it. This is done to add more realism to a shot. More often than not, it's easy to see when a big ball of fire has been generated via computers. The stunt coordinators will create a plan to cause the biggest explosion in the safest way possible. If a character needs to be in the middle of it, well, there's two ways to make that possible. Firstly, they shot the scene without the fire and with the character. Then they shot the same scene with the fire and without the character. In post, they essentially layer the two takes on top of each other, giving the appearance that the actor was in the middle of the fire. But this can also come over as unnatural, as well as being time-consuming and expensive. So the second way is to use a stunt person to fill in for the actor. They get the joy of being near fire and when things are going boom. Speaking of stunt people, nice segue, good for us. That brings us into our next entry. Many of the MCU actors love to get their hands athletically dirty in their role. They want to take part in every stunt scene. Chris Evans and Tom Holland are well known for jumping at every chance to do their own stunts. However, sometimes they aren't allowed to do them, especially when the stunt has some risks to it. It's better to let the trained professionals take over instead. A stunt double is also required if certain fighting choreography is above the talents of the actor. It means that pretty much every MCU actor has a stunt double. For example, Heidi Moneymaker has been Scarlett Johansson's stunt double since her MCU debut in 2010's Iron Man 2. And Bobby Holland-Hanton has been Chris Hemsworth since Thor: The Dark World. Since Asgard, Wakanda, and various alien worlds don't actually exist in real life yet, the MCU needs to get crafty, so they rely on green, sometimes blue screens. The actors will perform various scenes while a massive screen is in the background. That way, it's easier for the scenery to be added during post-production. While it's usually used for exotic locations, it can also be due to logistics in real-world places. Let's say Marvel were filming a scene on Clifton Suspension Bridge in Bristol, England. The bridge can't exactly be closed for a long time for Marvel to film. It would also cost a lot of money for Disney to ship equipment, crew, and cast cast all the way from the US to Bristol, so they shot the scene with a green screen in the US. They may send a small team to the location to film location footage to add in post. It's far cheaper than sending everyone. When it comes to Rocket and Groot, the actors Bradley Cooper and Vin Diesel weren't needed on set for motion capture. You said that. The characters are so removed from human-based that getting the actors' exact facial expressions was unnecessary. Instead, the two would read the lines in a recording booth. On set, there were a number of stand-ins for the characters during 2014's Guardians of the Galaxy. After all, the other actors needed someone to work with during those scenes. Christian Godlewski was the on-set Groot. He wore a Groot headdress so the actors knew where the head would be. For Rocket, Arnie Shaw and director James Gunn's brother Sean Gunn both stood in. Sean would crawl around on set and mimic the exact height of Rocket while in a green suit with only his face exposed. Bradley Cooper would watch the footage of Sean as a reference as he recorded his lines. Vin Diesel was even given a special script that translated Groot's lines into English. Then, Diesel would know what Groot meant during his repeated lines. It's normal for cast and crew to take part in reshoots in the film industry. However, with Marvel workers, they can experience last-minute changes on set more often than not. With a colossal universe, new character additions can pop in at any time, especially when some of the film rights to their characters belong to other production companies. Deals can happen at any moment behind the scenes. As such, the cast and crew need to be on their toes. Take Captain America Civil War.
Big fan? Spider-Man?
Yeah, we'll talk about it later.
Hey, everyone.
Once Spider-Man was added in as a last-minute change, it also caused other factors to change with it. Ant-Man was originally scheduled to be on Team Stark. With Sony agreeing to loan out Parker, he would be on Team Stark, so Scott Lang was moved to Team Cap. For Endgame, they shot the famous "I am Iron Man" line only 2 months before the film was released. Iron Man. As the line was a great nod to the birth of the MCU. You may not have noticed, but Disney's Marvel films tend to involve fighting. Every single film will involve fist and weapon clashes many times. With that, it's important for the actors to know the basics of fighting and to understand the choreography of the battle. Their stunt doubles can't do all the fighting, otherwise we'd never see the characters' faces in a fight, and everything would be shot from a distance, which doesn't get the audience invested in the battling. Plus, it makes the brawls appear a lot more natural with the actor involved. Often, the actors will require additional training to improve their skills. For example, Robert Downey Jr. is a keen practitioner of Wing Chun, while Kobe Smulders learned her Maria Hill skills from a Black Ops trainer. For those actors playing humanoid aliens, they only need some makeup rather than a whole CGI creation for their characters. While the animators are happy with that, the makeup people and actors involved, not so much. They have to get to set much earlier than other performers in order to have their makeup ready by the time shooting begins. They also have to stay longer to have it all removed carefully without damaging the prosthetics, as they'll be needed the next day for the process to begin all over again. For Karen Gillan to become Nebula, it takes 4.5 hours with another 30 minutes to remove at the end of the day. Gillan even shaved her head to begin with to make the process quicker. Later on, she was able to keep her red locks due to her new contract. For Zoe Saldana, it takes 5 hours to become Gamora. The process involves a lot more subtlety when it comes to prosthetics used for Gamora, yet for Dave Bautista, he has to stand while locked into a certain position for 5 hours to become Drax.
I've mastered the ability of standing so incredibly still.
In this day and age, the internet is pretty accessible at most places. With that in mind, it's understandable that the House of Mouse juggernaut would want to protect their Marvel baby from leaks about upcoming films, especially as they have Tom Holland and Mark Ruffalo around. So, Disney instigated a number of rules for the cast and crew to follow. Firstly, actors that are prone to letting secrets slip can't be interviewed alone. Often, another Marvel actor will be there for damage control. In the build-up to Infinity War and Endgame, a lot of the cast were kept in the dark about the saga's story. Many of the thespians were only given scripts involving their characters. Sometimes, many of the lines were redacted on top of that. The actors would only be informed of the story on the day of the scenes being filmed. For Infinity War, the cast were shoved into a sketchy van and told the film's dramatic ending. They were then immediately driven to the set to film it. If Disney agrees that an actor can read the whole script, they have to do it in a guarded room. They can't take the script home with them, so they're searched beforehand so they don't record the script. Disney is very protective. And that's a wrap. Which of the secrets is the crazy?
Hello everyone. Why do we like the Marvel Universe so much? One of the reasons is that the characters are amazing. But you don't have to go to the movies to meet people with superpowers. Superheroes are already among us. We know it's hard to believe, so we've gathered 10 examples to show you that this is true. Do you want to see real-life doubles of the most famous superheroes? Then let's get it on. English Iron Man. Who doesn't want to feel like Tony Stark? Or more exactly, like Iron Man? Even if you're not a genius, billionaire, playboy, or philanthropist, it would be amazing to fly super fast and cool armor. For some people, this is just a dream, but Richard Browning from a small English town made his fantasy come true. Just look how confident he looks while flying over the sea. Are those images from Iron Man 4? In fact, this British engineer always wanted to create a real version of the film's famous armor, but his first attempts failed. Richard was only able to rise half a meter off the ground for a few seconds. Tony Stark would have found that very funny. However, the inventor did not give up, even though he had to work on weekends and his wife begged him to give up his dream. But in the end, the result exceeded all expectations. His exoskeleton with 6 gas turbines can fly for 12 minutes and accelerate up to 450 kilometers per hour. What else can we say? We can only envy Richard or watch the video and feel the inspiration to create a similar suit. Star-Lord's doppelganger. When you watch a movie about superheroes, it's hard to tell the actor from their character. It seems that all these incredible feats or atrocities are performed by the actor and not the superhero. Chris Hemsworth waving a heavy hammer, Hugh Jackman fighting fearlessly despite his wounds. Or Tom Hardy trying to resist the symbiote. But it's time to reveal the truth. Actors who play different superheroes prefer not to perform complex and dangerous tricks, and we can't judge them. An accident would jeopardize the filming, and nobody wants the shooting or the release date of the film to be postponed forever. So the actors receive help from computer graphics or professional stuntmen. For example, this is Chris Pratt, the star of The Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy. But who's the guy next to him? His twin brother? Actually, it's stuntman Tony McFarlane. He may not look like Chris, but when they dress alike, it's hard to tell the difference. You probably didn't notice the substitution on the screen, did you? McFarlane did all of Pratt's dirty work in Jurassic World, in both parts of Guardians of the Galaxy, and in the movie Passengers. You shouldn't criticize Star-Lord. In the film industry, only Jackie Chan does all his tricks on his own. Captain America, engineer. One punch and then another. Villains scattered around like bowling pins. Captain America doesn't even have to use his hand-to-hand combat skills. The shield does all the work for him. It's a shame you can't have a weapon like that in real life. Or maybe you can. Canadian engineer James Hobson, better known as the Hacksmith, knows it's possible. He's famous for making copies of gadgets from video games and superhero movies. Among his inventions is Steve Rogers' famous shield. Of course, it isn't made of vibranium and can hardly hit targets with such precision, but it returns to its owner's hand. There are no special effects, just pure science. Hobson wears an electromagnetic bracelet on his forearm, which attracts the shield, and the shield works as well as the original. Watch how easily Hobson breaks concrete blocks and even destroys an armored box. But that's not his entire arsenal. The Hacksmith also has an Iron Man helmet, a huge half-life crossbow, and Reinhardt's rocket hammer. In other words, it's better not to mess with this guy. Iranian Hulk. The same can be said about this giant. However, it is unlikely that there is a person willing to try his strength. You can barely measure his hands with a tape measurer, and the can of Fanta in his hand looks ridiculously small. How does he fit on the screen? This incredibly large man is Sajjad Gharibi. He lives in Iran, trains all the time, and has 479,000 followers on Instagram. The 28-year-old giant is 188 centimeters tall and weighs 155 kilograms, and all of it is muscle. He has a great physique. physique. He participates in weightlifting competitions and has represented his country in bodybuilding tournaments. Take a closer look at his figure. Remind you of anyone? Because of his size, Sajjad is often compared to the Hulk. We don't know if he has been exposed to gamma radiation, but there are definitely similarities, except that Bruce Banner turns into a giant monster when he's angry. Can you imagine how Garibi would look if you made him angry? Real-life Spider-Man. When you were a kid, you probably tried to get a bewildered spider to bite you in hopes of acquiring the same agility and skill as the famous comic book hero. It may seem silly and fun, but it's a normal behavior among children. Who wouldn't like to jump long distances, climb steep walls, and land on their feet after a few backflips in the air? But there was no need to torture a poor spider. Meet William Spencer, the real Spider-Man. There are two reasons to call him that. Firstly, he was Andrew Garfield's double in the making of the two Spider-Man films. And secondly, he breaks all the laws of gravity. As a child, William was inspired by the example of his older brother, a successful skater, and since then he has not left the board, performing complex tricks. He's also a parkour enthusiast. Look at this. He runs along the wall as if his feet were sticking to the surface. It's only natural that the makers of Spider-Man noticed the guy's talent and invited him to work as a stuntman. And they made the right decision. Real-life Gambit. How can a normal playing card break a candy cane into pieces? Easy, if it has been thrown by Gambit, or his real-life double with the same powers. Rick Smith Jr. from the United States is compared to the mutant of the Marvel Universe for the precise and formidable way he can throw a deck of cards. You don't have a knife nearby to cut vegetables? No problem. You can use the King of Hearts to cut the celery in half. How's that possible? The character from X-Men had superpowers that allowed him to control the energy of objects. Could it be that Rick is also a mutant? Of course not. At least the magician denies being a superhero. Yay! According to Rick, his agility is the result of long, hard training. Regularly perfecting his tricks allows him not only to surprise the audience, but also to set world records. For example, in 2002, Smith entered the Guinness Book of Records for throwing a card at a huge distance of 66 meters. Imagine that. He also became the most accurate player in the world, throwing 47 out of 52 playing cards into a 25-centimeter diameter container in less than a minute. Thor from Earth. You're probably wondering if there's a person in real life who has the powers of Thor, the god of thunder and lightning. This character has extreme endurance, is able to move islands, and can break a rope made of adamantium. Is there anyone on Earth who looks like him even remotely? We think it's John Call. Maybe he's not the son of Odin, but he is endowed with an incredible physique and therefore can be considered Earth's Thor. This guy looks like a bodybuilder, but he's as flexible as a professional gymnast and performs the craziest acrobatic tricks you've ever seen. Running fast with a heavy load, jumping and doing push-ups in a weighted vest and then some backflips? No problem. Sean always comes up with new challenges for his body. By the way, he can also lift a huge hammer. But look at how he does it. While doing a split, the athlete smashes concrete blocks with a 26-kilogram hammer. There's no doubt that if Thor really existed, he'd like what this guy does. Red Skull. We all know there's nothing wrong with trying to be like a superhero. Many of us are inspired by the strength, the dignity, and the courage of the characters in comics and movies. However, sometimes people who want to look like a fictional character can get carried away. Don't you think Henry Rodriguez's transformation is a good example? This 37-year-old man from Venezuela has spent $40,000 and undergone several operations, all to become the Red Skull, an evil villain of the Marvel Universe. He's a pretty weird role model, don't you think? However, the man explains that his choice is simple. He's admired this character since childhood and has always dreamed of having a similar appearance. It took him almost 10 years to create this look. Henry had numerous facial implants and underwent long tattoo sessions. He also has a split tongue and completely black eyes, and even had his nose amputated. However, we must applaud his efforts. The resemblance is truly impressive, but if there is a double of Captain America somewhere on Earth, they shouldn't be. Lars Hawkeye Anderson. The ancient Egyptian pharaoh Amenhotep II could shoot 4 arrows in 2.25 seconds, while the Indian chief Hiawatha could shoot 10 arrows in 8 seconds. Who could compare with them today? Among fictional characters, it would be Hawkeye, a great shooter and the best agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Come on! But in the real world, there's also an archer who can compete with the best of the best. His name is Lars Anderson. Anderson, and he could very well play Hawkeye without VFX. He's a great athlete, and for many years he was the fastest archer in the world. Lars Anderson was also the first archer to repeat the all-time record of 3 arrows in 1.5 seconds. What's more, he managed to shoot 11 arrows into the air before the first one hit the ground. Can you imagine how good he is? In the film industry, Lars's talent is also highly appreciated, and he's invited as a consultant for TV series and films, including, of course, Robin Hood. And how good is his aim? Because Hawkeye can hit almost any target. Well, look at Anderson shooting the wheels of a car at full speed. Looks like his aim is perfect. Norfolk's Black Widow. We seem to have gotten so caught up in the discussion of superpowers that we have forgotten the main mission of superheroes, to help ordinary people. So it's time to introduce the Black Widow, an alias this guy from Norfolk chose for himself. He wears a homemade spandex suit that makes him look like both Miles Morales and Deadpool.
Oh, hello.
And while this suit doesn't look as impressive as it does in the movies, behind the mask, there's a real superhero. For the past few years, the young man has been patrolling the streets of Hampton Roads. Most of the time, he helps homeless people, provides first aid during emergencies, and fights crime. For example, preventing car thefts. However, in case of more serious confrontations, the Black Widow has special skills. He knows karate and Muay Thai and carries pepper spray and an expandable police baton. Fortunately, he hasn't had to use them yet. As you can see, there are superheroes among us.
Play War Thunder now. Join millions of players across the globe in massive battles on tanks, aircraft, and helicopters in the most extensive vehicle combat game ever made. Take control over the battlefield and ground vehicles. Rain down rocket volleys and helicopters. Dogfight your enemies in aircraft and bomb whatever is left into the dust. Play on more than 1,500 authentic military vehicles from early World War II to present day. Experience the transition from historic biplane fighters and iconic World War II tanks to supersonic jets and modern battle tanks fighting alongside attack helicopters. Upgrade your vehicles, customize their appearance, and level up your crew to become the best commander on the battlefield. Download War Thunder now for free on warthunder.com for PS4 or Xbox One.
One of the most epic moments in the whole MCU so far has been when Captain America wielded Thor's Mjolnir during the climactic battle in Avengers Endgame. While Steve Rogers was worthy of carrying Thor's hammer, the world of Marvel Comics have featured numerous characters who should have never been allowed to lift the powerful weapon. From continuity problems to plain old cheating to hold Mjolnir, let's take a look at all those who got their hands on the hammer but were definitely unworthy. And on the flip side, when you're done with this video, hop on over to our friends at CBR to check out their list of characters who have lifted the hammer and are worthy to use Thor's signature weapon. The Merc with a Mouth is violent, arrogant, and pretty much does whatever he wants. He doesn't exactly fill the criteria for the role of being worthy of wielding Mjolnir in any shape or form. It would have been a big insult to show him on the screen with Thor's hammer, but everything seems pretty fair game in the comics. Take, for example, Deadpool number 37. In the issue, Deadpool spends multiple panels with Loki before the God of Mischief decides to gift him with Mjolnir. Deadpool can summon the hammer, fly with it, and use the powerful strength to take out others. But in typical Deadpool fashion, he has other plans. This includes playing a carnival hammer game and using Mjolnir like a bat at a baseball game. Of course, Loki is also known as the Prince of Lies, and it turns out the Mjolnir Deadpool had was actually a fake. At least he got to cosplay for a while, even donning the traditional Thor outfit. And the twist ending makes sense because we don't see any future in which Deadpool is worthy. Black Widow has been through thick and thin with her fellow Avengers. She was there by Tony Stark's side before the Avengers were even a thing. In Avengers Age of Ultron, she didn't even try to lift Thor's hammer. Probably because she knew that no matter what happened, there was far too much red on her ledger to ever make her worthy. Yet despite her dark history with the Red Room and missions we hope to see in the upcoming Black Widow solo movie, the hero did get to lift Mjolnir in the pages of Marvel Comics, probably when she shouldn't have. Granted, the events took place within the pages of Marvel's What If series, but still presented a situation where she held the hammer. In the story, Thor dies and Black Widow visits his grave, quickly realizing that she can easily lift Mjolnir. After relying on her own combat skills for years, it's nice seeing her have some more powers, but out of all of the other Avengers, she would be one of the least likely to be worthy of carrying Thor's torch. Upon holding the hammer, she quickly transformed out of her black leather jumpsuit and into a Thor-inspired outfit, cape and all. Flash forward 40 years later, and we learn what a mighty hero she was.
It's all new and it's all lit.
The cool breeze on a bear, but I miss that.
Through the years, Marvel Comics has proven that sometimes it's not about being worthy enough to move Mjolnir. It's more about having the brute force to do so. And considering the massive power of the hammer, it would take a Hulk-sized amount of force. The Incredible Hulk has used his power to make Mjolnir budge, but the massive force of destruction has never truly been deemed worthy to hold the hammer and use it as his own weapon. The only way for him to hold and use it happened when the Hulk took advantage of a huge loophole. In the comic book Avengers Assemble #4, Hulk found himself under the influence of Thanos and his mind control powers. Before the Avengers could attack Thanos, Hulk turned to Thor, grabbing his hand, holding Mjolnir, and clobbered the God of Thunder with his own hammer. The cover of the issue shows Hulk holding the hammer on his own, but this was not what actually happened in the pages of the comic. It was more of a fantasy-inspired cover, and there have been many dream sequences and fantasies where Hulk has held Mjolnir other times, despite never being deemed worthy. Magneto has the ability to control multiple types of iron using his mutant superpowers, but there has always been exceptions. Thor's Uru crafted Mjolnir. No matter what happened, if Magneto was not deemed worthy, then he would not be able to hold the hammer, superpowers or not. Well, Magneto always gets what he wants, and the rules were completely changed for the Ultimate Universe. The Ultimate Universe did not have to follow the same rules as the traditional Marvel Universe, and thanks to this, several loopholes were used to allow Magneto control of Mjolnir. Turns out, the ultimate version of Thor's hammer was also crafted with some iron, giving Magneto the convenient method of holding the weapon. Controlling the electromagnetic air around the hammer, Magneto was able to hold it when no one else could. Being one of the most unworthy characters to lift the hammer, it's only fitting that Magneto could only physically lift it as opposed to having access to all of the powers. Essentially, Magneto could deliver powerful strikes, but nowhere near the same type of skills and impact Thor had while using the weapon. In the first Thor movie, Odin cast a worthiness enchantment on Mjolnir, and it took a long time for Thor to learn his lesson and earn the worthiness to hold Mjolnir again. With all the high standards to follow, it seems nearly impossible that Loki would ever get to use his brother's hammer.
What a fool. To think you were ready.
Father. We never got to see it in one of the many appearances of Loki in the MCU, but the comics are a whole different story. We all know Loki wouldn't be deemed worthy enough straight up, so just like the way he fooled Deadpool into holding Mjolnir, Loki used some of his own tricks to hold the powerful hammer. In the Earth X series, all of the Asgardians become almost evil. When Loki figures out the powers and abilities associated with being gods, he decides to become his own version of Thor. As part of his creation, Loki gets his own version of Mjolnir and deems himself worthy enough to hold his own weapon. So the Earth X series may be more of a side story than we should get it, but Loki did find a way to easily hold and use the hammer and others confidently on all of his own. In the MCU, there are few characters who have held Mjolnir on the big screen. One of the characters who saw besides Thor was Vision. In Age of Ultron, he saw many heroes try to lift the hammer to no avail. The payoff of the scene came later on in the movie when Vision did it with ease. The lifting of Mjolnir wasn't indicating that Vision was worthy, but there's more of a loophole. Vision is not a creature, so the enchantment with the hammer does not apply to him. It made it easy to lift and use Mjolnir when needed. While Vision using the hammer was a great gag and funny payoff, so keeping up with the chance, he may have been better without it. For example, imagine if Thor could actually use Mjolnir other than Thor after the events of Endgame. Captain America's shining moment was already epic, but it would have been elevated even further. Vision's use of Mjolnir didn't feel the same in any way when compared to Captain America. Oddly, despite holding Mjolnir as a comic, the rest of the comics was never all negative. There's nothing like a good crossover to mess up around the logic and see Mjolnir get used by characters you never expected. In its case, it turns out to be the Barbarian. In another What If Marvel series that basically tosses the hammer around more than workers at Home Depot, Conan the Barbarian and Thor teamed up to take on the evil Fatma. In the story, Thor gets into some typical trouble, getting sent back in time and stranded in a world filled with barbarians. Thor eventually gets defeated and perishes in the story, leaving the hammer open for the taking. Conan gets his hands on the hammer, and all of the newfound powers allow him to take on Thoth-Amon and succeed. Conan's ultra-violent history and violent lifestyle probably doesn't make him worthy. But as a what-if story, everything is more accepted, noting it is nothing more than some type of professionally published fanfiction. Now, if this was Arnold Schwarzenegger's version of Conan the Barbarian, this would be a whole different story. Well, don't deny the power of these sidekicks, because Rick Jones got to hold the mighty Mjolnir. And yes, time travel and alternate futures were involved. In the comics, Jones gets visited by evil and good versions of himself, with one hailing from the future imperfect reality. It was this good version of Rick Jones who revealed he was worthy of carrying Mjolnir, showing the present-day Rick what he could possibly achieve in the future. So there's two Ricks interacting at the same time, with only one of them being worthy. Man, Odin really had to whisper a lot of things to the hammer to help sort out all these clauses.
You playing Fortnite?